Have you finished talking about football?
I don't know.
I want to ask you about your thoughts when people say the majority of the player have grandparents from, overseas, and there's at least two players that are purely, if I could say the word, purely English. How do you feel about
Well, what
that?
does it mean to be purely English? What does that mean?
I don't know, but like
Well,
that's why I'm
you
asking.
just said
I'm
it.
asking you. I'm asking. I mean, I think people say that about. Sometimes people even say that about white people, whether they were English or different ethnicity, but just considering them being white.
Okay.
I'm just saying, why do people like to highlight where people are from?
Well, obviously, there's quite a few black players on the team. There's quite a few of the Irish players or the white English players have an Irish background. Harry Kane, for example, has family from Ireland. I'm pretty sure Harry Maguire also does from the name. You would think so.
So how does
So,
that make you feel?
well, I mean, you have the right to play for the country that you were born in, or the country you've lived in for a very long time, or the country your parents were born in, or your grandparents.
Mm.
And these guys are playing for England, and they're proud to be English. It doesn't mean that they completely ignore the other aspects of their identity. Raheem Sterling, I believe, is born in Jamaica, came to England at a young age. He's proud to represent England,
Mm.
but obviously his status and his identity resonates with other Jamaican people in the UK or black people in general who have something in common with him. But I think it's a good thing, and identity is never completely black and white. Even the fully English people, as you call them, they came from somewhere, and you don't just have one identity. You could be English and be from Yorkshire, English and be a Londoner, English with a Caribbean background, English with an Irish background.
But I feel it's not my thoughts, but I feel like people like to highlight that these immigrants
Mm-hmm.
have brought something to this country, like they want to highlight it. Does Is that because they want English people to respect immigration and give them more support and like
Mm.
to make them feel more inclusive? Um, and another point I'm going to mention here. Also, I've read some comments and highlights that people said Sterling was not highlighted much in the newspaper. Not this match, not this
Mm-hmm.
last match. The one before, like the other
Like Harry
guy,
Kane,
Harry Kane.
the white
Yeah,
guy. They both scored, but
yeah. So
Harry Kane
Sterling
got
mainly would
the
he not
limelight.
only scored, but he also would give him the ball ready to be like a ready goal for you to
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
score. So he done most of the hard work,
Who did? Raheem Sterling.
maybe.
Okay.
But yeah, people were saying that he's not mentioned in every page. Why is it only what's the other name of the guy?
Harry Kane.
Harry Kane. Yeah. Why is he in the news more than the other? Like people always feel like black people or people of different ethnicity are still targeted. Do you think people are highlighting things that are not really meant to be? They're just trying to make a big deal out of every small thing, or is this actually real? Or is this actually
It,
racism in newspaper and articles? And what do you
it
think?
it's very hard to say. I mean, I think Raheem Sterling has been celebrated in the press quite a lot, and rightly so. But you're right, there were a couple of front pages
Mm.
that were showing Harry Kane rather than Raheem Sterling. I know that Raheem Sterling has suffered racist abuse, as have probably all black players that have played their football in Europe. But it's got better. It's not as bad as it used to be, and we're going in the right direction. And Gareth Southgate, I think, has had a positive influence and positive impact on the team, and he's been willing to listen to for example, black players that wanted to take the knee as part of the Black Lives Matter protest. Whether you agree with it or not, it's up to you as
He
an
respected it,
individual
yeah.
if you want to do it, and he
Mm.
respected that. I'm sure there are people that will say, "Oh, Gareth Southgate isn't being praised in the media. If he was a black manager, that wouldn't be the case." There has never been a black England manager. There's
Mm.
been many, many, many black England players, but
Mm.
never a black England manager. Maybe that is because of racism. I don't know. But you would have thought by now, given the number of black footballers there have been for England, you might have had a black manager. But all these things take time, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, people do feel generally that people of color need to do a little bit more to achieve these places. And when they achieve it, it's like, oh, oh, this person came from this country and he suffered and this and that, and now he's a great footballer. But this guy, who had a normal life, became also a footballer. Like, why make it sounds like, oh, wow, you've actually managed to do it,
Do
Like,
you find it
I feel,
patronizing?
yeah, we all can do it, but it's like sometimes the chances that are given, you know? If you give your son the chance to train and you put him into different clubs and all of that, and you train him young, and some of these trainings requires a lot of money. Some of, like, oh, sadly, most of the clubs now and the sport turned into a business now. Like, you have to afford it to put your
It's
kids.
true. But I
And
think
I'm not sure if you
if you're
heard.
good at football, you will be discovered. I mean, football has always been the sport that poor people could play, working people could
Well,
play.
because they know this will bring money to the team, money to the country, money, like it's all money making
Yeah.
after all, more than football is not just a football and it's not just sport. There's a lot into
You,
football
yeah.
than
You'll
just
find
a
that
sport.
the sports that were traditionally working class sports became professional sports much earlier because
Mm.
the people needed money and wanted to do it for money. The more middle class sports like rugby union, very much a south of England sport, very much a private school sport, and not so much anymore, but traditionally it was for a very long time amateur, and you played for the joy of playing it.
Mm.
Amateur comes from ame, as in love in French.